I've been a little busy this week, so I couldn't upload at the usual date. Anyway, so I played a little game recently called of Pen and Paper 1 and 2. I would recommend both of these games, with 2 being a quite a bit better one, but I totally recommend them with a caveat. I wouldn't really call them good. They're passable and a little mindless. I find them perfect for a few minutes of gameplay at a time. No real thinking, very simple gameplay, simple little story with some comedy here and there, and quite a bit of grind. I can mention people not liking this at all, but personally I didn't think I wasted my time. What are these games about? A group of little pixelated people are playing a knockoff Dungeons and Dragons. That's it. That's all the story. There's really nothing else to it. So there's actually very little to say about it all around, really. I enjoyed the early levels, with a heavier emphasis on the dialogue and the comedy. There's definitely more effort there and less grinding. There are jokes about the fourth wall, the RPG tropes, all sorts of things. Whoever made it is definitely a nerd. Nerd! It's fun to just have these jokes and references thrown around while doing some very simple combat in between. And frequently have something entirely nonsensical happen to justify why these mobs are there. For example, zombie butlers. When else are you gonna fight something like that? If I were to pick up some things to complain about, then it would be the lack of more story in the later parts of the game. Early on, the quests are abundant, overtly so, especially in the first game, but later it's basically early MMO level quests, with killing 5 enemies and turning it in. Again, especially in the first game. Second game balances it way better, but still steps on the exact same rakes nonetheless. Aside from that, I can only remember the generic complaints. Repetition, lazy writing, pointless travel, yada yada yada. I pushed on. Finished both games, but neither of them was good enough to justify it. And yet, it didn't really feel like a chore. I still completed them. With some games it definitely feels like a chore. So, for example, currently I'm playing and replaying Vampire, with a Y, to see the story differ depending on the number of deaths. And there I don't want to do combat, but I have to, because enemies are blocking the way. I don't want to scout around the whole city to find one note another time, but again, I have to, because otherwise that's another story tidbit I might miss if I don't have this particular clue. So playing Vampire feels like having a shopping list and going into the store again and again with a new list. Playing Knights of Pen and Paper felt like a completely mindless, mildly fun activity with an occasional laugh. There's no chore there. Which game is better? I would never in my life claim that Vampire is worse. There's so much to praise, it's not even close. But which game am I more likely to just randomly turn on and play for a bit when I have nothing else to do? Definitely Knights of Pen and Paper. Not every game has to be an art piece, not every game has to be a complicated marvel to behold with systems which would put Einstein to shame. Sometimes someone somehow wants something simple. And this game definitely offers that. It doesn't try to be more, and what it does well enough.